What's good? What's good? It's your boy Travelmatic, and we are back with another banging live stream tonight for Matic Mondays. And I do not have my co-host tonight. She came up with an emergency at the last minute, but we still gonna rock out. You know what I'm saying? So welcome back. If you're new to Matic Mondays, we talk about all things digital nomad, remote working, transferring your skills, little travel mixed in with that if you're, doing your digital nomad thing. So if you like this content, share it with your people, share it with your friends, people who are aspiring to get into remote working or IT as well. And if you are returning, what's good, people? I am back. I am back from Aruba, as you see, for the birthday extravaganza that you can see me chilling. This is in St. Nicholas, Aruba. Really nice town. They call that Chocolate City. They call that Chocolate City in San Nicolas, Aruba. You should definitely try it out. A lot of beautiful murals in San Nicolas as well. All right. We have Mocha. What's going on, Mocha? How are you, Mocha? Pardon me, I'm trying to drop this in the chat for some of my peoples to come in and chop it up with me. So the topic of the night, I kind of came up with this on the fly while I was actually traveling. And yes, thank you, Mocha. Actually, today is my channel, Travelmatic, and this is the 4-year anniversary of my channel. I started this channel on my 40th birthday. Was it my 40th birthday? Yeah, when I turned 40th, I started this channel. And so we're going on like 3 years or so on YouTube. I think it's actually about 4 years. It's my channel's anniversary as well. So a lot of good stuff. But yeah, the title, Digital Nomads and the Migrant Crisis. If you're not aware, the migrant crisis, which is going on at the border, is crazy. New York, Chicago, some other places up in the Northeast are really being impacted by the migrant crisis. I think I saw in Chicago airport, they had over like 1,000 people in the airport just laying down, and the Venezuelans in Chicago, in New York, just all over. It was crazy. And so a lot of people are really, not liking this because it takes housing, it takes health aid, and it takes a lot of taxpayer money to help the migrants. And so it's and then on the flip side, you have the digital nomad gentrification in a lot of these countries like Portugal, Mexico, for its Mexico City, Bali. Like a lot of these digital nomads are coming in, like pricing out the citizens and the locals of that country. They're raising the rent, and A lot of people want them to go. They want the digital nomads to leave because they're making life harder on the locals. So I see some similarities there. So that's why I want to kind of chime in on that today. Because I know myself, like when I first started to talk about this digital nomad thing, I realized that, I mean, you kind of fall into these trends. You kind of fall into these social media algorithm trends, and you kind of ride it with other people. But there is some discretion you have to use with it, because a lot of people are being impacted with how you show up in another person's country. So I was going to play some videos to kind of chime in on that, to kind of let it marinate on you. Let me start with let me close that out. Let me share. We'll do the digital nomad gentrification.
And if you're in Mexico, you have to speak Spanish, okay? Go back to your country.
Nearly 2 million foreigners arrived at the Mexico City International Airport in the first half of this year. Activists and researchers warn a digital nomad influx in the capital is exacerbating inflation.
They're now becoming too expensive for Mexican citizens to live in, because people that are actually buying these property developments are being able to do so because they either make money in US dollars or because they're working remotely.
With its digital nomad population tripling over the last 3 years, the landscape of Mexico City is changing. To understand how these changes are affecting locals, we talked to Cecilia Gandarilla. She's a longtime resident of Mexico City who has had to move neighborhoods during the pandemic.
Lo que he logrado percibir de mi círculo o de personas a las que luego les pregunta sobre esto, sí es de cierta inconformidad, ¿no? Una falta tal vez de empatía, como falta de interés en hablar el idioma, y ahora con la inflación creo que eso ha repercutido en muchísimas situaciones que afectan a la vivienda, al acceso a una vida digna, a varios aspectos que conforman una ciudad.
I've lived in Mexico City for 18 months. The price has gone up by probably 2 to 3 times since I've been here. It's troubling because you move to a place because you love the culture, and that includes the people that live there. Whereas what happens, I find, is that when gentrification happens, you kind of lose the very essence of why you moved there in the first place.
How do you think locals feel about people moving to Mexico City?
I think they're probably torn. There's probably a level of happiness that they get to share their city, but I think there's a unhappiness with too many people coming in and forcing people who maybe have lived in, for example, Condesa and Roma their whole lives, to then not be able to afford to live in the places that they grew up.
Según un artículo, 20,000 personas son desplazadas a la periferia de la ciudad. Es lo principal que he notado, como cierta inconformidad, pero sobre todo por el alza de precios que se han suscitado hace más de un año. Sin embargo, no es algo a lo que se le deba de culpar a los turistas. Creo que más bien el problema es la sistematización de la desigualdad.
Alongside Cecilia and Alex, we talked to Carla Luisa Escofi Duarte, who has worked on right to housing cases in multiple Mexico states, to get a top-down view of how housing is changing in Mexico City.
Actualmente el contexto al que nos enfrentamos en México es resultado de una serie de omisiones y acciones en torno al tema de vivienda y en la ciudad. Y lo que estamos viendo actualmente es que uno de esos problemas es la gentrificación, pero no es el único. Pero esa es una problemática que siempre ha existido en las ciudades, pero es un hecho que con la pandemia, agudizar ciertos procesos o acelerarlos, de tal manera que lo que vimos es que pues toda la discusión en torno a plataformas turísticas de arrendamiento a corto plazo, como es el caso de Airbnb, pues tuvo un impulso significativo en comparación a lo que ya se venía platicando antes.
Of course, Mexico City isn't the only place affected by gentrification since the pandemic. However, the lack of social housing policies in Mexico has intensified local issues compared to other cities abroad.
All right. So, all right, on that aspect, look at, you know, the impact that it has on the locals. The locals are being priced out in places that 5-10 years ago, they were actually were able to afford to live in those locations. So now they have to move out further. That's you know, more commute time, money they got to spend on transportation. It's a lot on the people, as well as like food. I've heard food has started to rise, and a little bit is with inflation, but a good bit really impacts the amount of U.S. dollars that's coming in as well to those countries. So they definitely are seeing and feeling the impact of a lot of digital nomads, over tourism in certain areas. Because actually, another reason why I brought this up, I had sent Tiffany a post of a Black female living in Medellin, which Medellin is another big one. They've actually put up flyers in Medellin. I forgot what the flyers would say, but it was saying like "Gringo go home" or something like that in Spanish, posted up through Parquilleras. Just because Medellin is just flooded with gringos now, worse than it ever has been over the last 5 years. So a lot of them want them to leave. And so this girl posted a reel about something about, well, your money goes further, and some other things she was kind of pushing. And she says, you know, get your digital nomad visa. And so I'm like, okay. You know, she was really kind of pushing that and the other agenda that she was pushing. But in the comments, man, it was like the comments was like mad crazy. Like they was almost like threatening. And I think she took it down because they were that cringeworthy with the comments. I was like, ooh, like they was really coming for her. Like, you know, why are you telling people this? And we don't need y'all here. We don't want y'all here. All in the comments. I was like, man, that is crazy. So that's I was like, man, she need to take this down because, you know, people are really in their feet. They're really serious about this with, you know, the invasion of digital nomads. I had another one too, another video. This one young lady about Bali. Let me show this one about Bali. This is another one that let me start it from the beginning.
Into Bali. So a digital nomad in Bali did a feature with Business Insider about why he left Bali and why it's not worth living there anymore. And as you can imagine, there was a huge backlash. People were angry on social media, and it caused such an uproar that he sent a newsletter this week to thousands of his subscribers explaining the situation and sort of offering apologies, sort of not. And I was just watching this whole thing play out online, and I have a lot of thoughts and comments about it. So I figured, rather than add to the Instagram comments, why don't I make a video explaining what happened and my insights into whether his complaints are warranted or not. Now, there's three main reasons that people are angry. The first one is that because this digital nomad did a feature with CNBC just a year before, singing Bali's praises and telling people on how they can live a life of luxury for just around $2,000 per month. So this got hundreds of thousands of views online. It was on YouTube, it was all over social media. And then just a year later, he's retracting that claim and he's saying why he left Bali. And so people are like, wait, what? That's hypocritical. But more than what he said on paper, what I think is most interesting is the psychology behind this sequence of events, because here we have in year one, loving Bali, loving the lifestyle and telling the world about it. And then in year two, not so much, leaving the island and going elsewhere. And so at the end of this video, I'm going to explain what I think was going on there, because it has a lot to do with the different phases of culture shock. And if you're aware of these signs and symptoms, then you can know if you're experiencing something similar when you travel or live in a different country. Now, the second thing that people are mad about is his privilege to be able to come into a country as a foreigner, live there, enjoy a low cost of living and a high quality of life, and then up and leave when things get difficult. The locals in Bali have been struggling, and especially during and since the pandemic. And there is a tension right now between the locals and the expats and the tourists. And so I'll explain a bit about what's happening there. And then the third reason that people are angry is, I think, out of frustration that some of what he's saying is actually true. There are legitimate problems in Bali, from overdevelopment and over tourism to horrible pollution, traffic, a cost of living crisis, water problems, and more. Recently, it's also been this invasion of expats, remote workers, and even refugees of the Russian war in Ukraine. Tens of thousands of refugees have also been pouring into Bali, causing a lot of issues. And the governor of Bali has actually lobbied the central government in Jakarta to revoke the visa on arrival for Ukrainian and Russian citizens. So we're going to talk about that as well.
Yeah. So you see, there's a lot of impacts with the digital nomad visa in countries where the infrastructure is not there, the economies of scale is way off. The difference between poor and rich it's a big wealth gap. And with the digital nomad guys, visa applicants that come in, they're also working. One of the main requirements in being a digital or to apply for a digital nomad visa, you have to be making money outside of the country that you're trying to get a visa for. That's mainly with any digital nomad visa. You cannot make money in these actual countries that you're applying for. And one main thing is to actually not take money away from the locals, opportunities that they may be able to have. So that's another thing that these guys or people that come to Bali, they're able to do like tours and monetize like the places where they're living, kind of, I guess maybe like a subleasing or something like that in their apartments that they may have, or they may not be there. Let's say if you get an Airbnb for 6 months and you want to hop to another place for a month out of those 6 months, you may try and sublease it. You're making money off of Bali property. Bali, that's money that you're making in Bali off of Bali people, Bali resources, and that's to not be done. So those are things that a lot of these digital nomads are doing. So so yeah, it's a lot of craziness around the digital nomad and how it's impacting these countries. And so on the other side of the coin, the migrant crisis, and there I'm in discussing it with a few of my friends too. The migrant crisis is more like asylum, right? Majority of those people at the border are trying to seek asylum. By I think there's a few ways that you can seek asylum. If you feel like you're in danger, LGBTQ issues back home, fleeing from a gang, I believe. I forgot. It's like 4 or 5 different things that you can, or the United States can look at, that they can look at in order to have you to apply for or whatever. They accept from 4 or 5 different things, right? Most of the ones that they're issuing is because I think crime in their home country. But they're coming over here. They're coming in big waves. Like I said, New York, Chicago, other cities in the Northeast, what they're calling not asylum. Most of them are Democratic cities. What's the name of the? They call them refugee cities, I think, or something like that. But they are definitely impacting these cities, especially like New York. New York has a very, very big migrant problem, and a lot of the people there are not happy about it. A lot of the New Yorkers are not happy with this move because Biden actually granted over 400,000 Venezuelan migrants work visas, and that money had to come from somewhere. Let me see here. Share. Okay, so if we look at the article here, Biden surprise move to grant thousands of Venezuelan migrants work visas sends NYC officials into scramble over another Fed chore. The surprise move by the White House to give thousands of Venezuelans in the Big Apple the ability to work has left City Hall scrambling as members of the City Council sounded the alarm that NYC isn't ready to take another federal chore. The Biden administration has promised just 50 staffers to help New York process employment permit applications for roughly 10,000 migrants from the South American country, and it is now not clear how many staffers have even arrived to start the job. It's just out of hand. Oh, there is Tiffany in the back. Welcome, Tiffany, to the show.
Hey, y'all.
Yes, I'm trying to clap. Welcome.
Sorry I'm late. You know, ladies be late sometimes.
Yes. No problem. I think I seen somebody else.
So you're talking about Biden's give the initiative to give Venezuelans ability to come here to the United States, right?
No, the ability to work. They're already here.
The ability to work.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't want to say that the impact of migrants coming here and having resources is bigger than the impact of expats in foreign countries, because I think the impact of expats in foreign countries is more related to the immediate impact on the communities that they move to versus migrants. And I'm not saying that migrants in New York are not an issue. I'm not saying that migrants anywhere in the U.S. are an issue, but we've heard quite a few examples, and even earlier you just talked about what's happening in Bali. And the similar is happening in Mexico, where there is an immediate impact to expat community coming to live in, coming to live in foreign countries. They're raising the price of rent. Migrants aren't raising the price of rent. They're starting their own tours and taking that away from locals, which again, migrants aren't doing that here in the U.S. You're not going to find migrants giving tours on Airbnb experiences and Viator. But you go on any of those sites and you see a ton of expats who are offering tours in countries that they don't normally reside. So, and I don't know if one outweighs the other. I really have to look at the financial impact of and compare dollar amounts. But being that the U.S. has positioned itself as a economic leader in the world, and a lot of these decisions that are being made here are ran by corporations. Yes, there's a strain on U.S. citizens, but it's not driven by migrants. It's driven by corporations that are creating inflation and impacting not just the price of things, but impacting employment, and doing so purposely. We just had a show 2 weeks ago where we had a CEO from a large corporation who said that they want people to be unemployed. They want people to feel the pain so that they can shift the movement from employee back to employer, so that people are more grateful for the positions that they're in. So I think it's unfair to say that migrants are the reason that it's not fair for migrants to get resources here once they reach the U.S. From that perspective. Now, there's other perspectives where I can see there's an imbalance, and it's not going to be fair because we have people here in the U.S. who aren't able to access resources, and I'm always going to start with the disabled community, no matter what ethnic background or racial background you come from. Disabled people have a more difficult time accessing resources here in the U.S. versus someone who is considered a migrant from Venezuela, for example. So that is where I see the imbalance. But again, it's because of a culture that supports those who are able to come in at the bottom and be given lower paying jobs, so that the corporations continue to make large profits. So that's kind of where my perspective is. It's not necessarily on the migrants. I kind of take it off of them and put it back on the people who actually hold the power to make these kind of decisions. And to me, that's the corporations and conjunction with government officials who are being lobbied and paid for by the corporations that put policies in place to take resources from everyday people and put it in the hands of others and or corporations, because truth be told, we have enough resources here in the U.S. to go around if people who were in the 1% or 2% were willing to share those amongst everyone, but they're not. So we're all fighting for crumbs, and it's all from the same stale piece of bread that they're giving us. So that's where my perspective is.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Because the reason why I titled it "Who Has the Biggest Effect" is just that I really should have had it. Does it infect? Because I know there is an effect, but I don't know how much. But there is an effect. As you went to say, like migrants are not doing tours and doing subleasing of Airbnbs or whatever, but they are they are impacting other subgroups. As you mentioned, the disabled, the veterans and stuff. Like you got veterans on the street and stuff. You got a lot of people that's on the street that would like housing. There's a big housing impact here in Georgia. It's a lot of homeless people here. There's a lot of homeless people in California. Look, good Lord, you ever been to California in the last year or so, year or two? It is like tent mansions out there. Like I seen a 2-level mansion, freaking homeless mansion. I was like, how did they build that 2 levels like that? Crazy. So and so I wanted to show this video actually before you came in. I was going to show this video next, and we'll expound a little bit more after this video. Is it this one? Yeah.
And LULAC local councils, and a special thanks to our elected, who you will be hearing from shortly.
What the? Hold up. That was quick. Okay.
Thank you, but we need more. Thank you, President, but we deserve more. Thank you, presidents, but our country demands more for our immigrant community.
We know that what is clear is that Biden has the authority to grant mass work permits. And we are demanding that President Biden, Secretary Mayorkas, extend work permits through a process called parole for the millions of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. And LULAC local councils, and a special thanks to our elected, who you will be hearing from shortly.
Okay, and so as I was going down here too, reading the comments, I wonder what would happen if I crossed into a foreign country illegally and started demanding stuff. Legal citizens need to learn Spanish language so that migrants don't have to learn English. I think he was being sarcastic there. If integration can be forced at gunpoint, so can deportation. This is like skipping the line and cut off to thousands of immigrants that are trying to get work permits, visas, and green cards, paying thousands of dollars and doing it the right way. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people are not happy with these migrants that are coming over to just. I mean, I seen another one too. I think in Michigan, they were in the state capital of Michigan saying, "Hey, we need our papers." Like, I'm like, yeah. What? Like, that type of impact is crazy. I know I saw somebody come in. BLB, send them that one-way ticket. BLB, what's going on, my guy? Mocha,
yeah, and again, I am 100% sure that initiative to bring specifically that country is politically motivated. And like it or not, guys, we're never going to know 100%. There's going to be a lot of theories onto why that legislation was pushed through by the administration, but there's a couple of things to keep in mind with the information that we do know, right? We know that it's happened in the past, i.e. Cuba. It happened with Cuba. And when they were brought here, they primarily voted towards, the party that, one, allowed them to come over, and two, that aligned with their cultural, political, religious beliefs, right? And so I think that this is politically motivated, because there is an election coming up. We all know that. If you live in the U.S., then you are very much aware that there's an election coming up, and I don't think that it's fair, again, to not recognize that this is a political move. This was not just lobbying for, these kind of things to happen. This was a concerted effort and politically motivated. What 100% that means, we don't know. It puts us in a precarious situation, but it also puts them in a precarious situation. And I'm going to lead with empathy and love. I'm always going to do that. I know some people are not going to want to hear that. They want to be politically correct. I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm just giving my personal opinion. And I think those who are to blame are those who have created these policies and procedures, that put the burden on the American taxpayer to pay for this without truly understanding everything that's involved in it, and all the political gain that's behind it, because it's completely politically motivated. I mean, because you've got countries that you are allowing, but you got countries like Haiti, that you are not allowing. Soon as somebody from Haiti floats over here, literally and configuratively, on something, then they're sending them within a few days back to where they came from. So we know that it's politically motivated. What it all entails, I don't think we know.
Yeah, I think the whole overall thing is, yeah, political. I don't even want to get into that either, but the way Biden has this door open, like you talking about open the floodgates. The floodgates is permanently open with no regard. So it has to make you think about something, which I did find this, and I didn't have chance to do a little pre-show, and I wanted to get more on like this impact of the work visas that they have, like this Venezuelan work visa. It's like 18 months that they have to work here. 18 months from, I think that was last month, he granted that. So, that kind of overlaps some things. And some people say, well, you can't vote. You can't vote with a work visa, but hey.
No, but it's an investment. We listen, they're always a generation ahead of us. Right? And so they're changing and moving their rules and according to what they need. So it may not be for this current election, but don't think that the Latino community is not paying attention to what's happening, right?
Right.
The existing voters. That's who's being impacted for this current election. Oh, you're letting people from Venezuela, you're letting people from Latin countries come in, and you're giving them jobs and you're giving them resources to start new in the US. That's great. We've never had that before, or we've only had it with, certain countries, and now you've broadened that. So it absolutely impacts this current voter base. I mean, we've got to be very mindful of what we're saying when we're saying, oh, well, they can't vote. Of course not. We know that, but they can also vote in future elections, but they can impact a very large segment of voters who voted Republican in the last election. Let's be clear. So you have a Democratic president who's deciding to expand who is able to get that and what kind of resource they're able to get. It's very much politically motivated, and there's nothing nobody can tell me that it's not.
Right. Let me play this.
The federal government says the redesignation and extension of the temporary protected status for certain Venezuelans will last for 18 months, and is because there are certain dangerous conditions back home that are preventing Venezuelans from returning to their home country. This will mean that many will now be temporarily protected from being removed from the United States and will be eligible to work here more quickly. Later this morning here in Times Square at Project Rousseau, many employees and volunteers of the organization will be on hand helping many Venezuelans fill out applications to get this process underway as quickly as possible. The redesignation of temporary protected status will apply to certain Venezuelans who have been living in the country on or before July 31st. TPS is given to those who can't go home safely because of war or natural disasters, among other things. Now, these migrants can work 30 days after their application has been approved versus waiting 180 days like other asylum seekers. The move comes as New York City has welcomed more than 110,000 asylum seekers over the past year and a half, many bused from the southern border. The city and state have been pushing for more federal support to deal with the migrants, including expedited work permits. In a statement last night, the governor said, quote, "Work authorization is the way out of the migrant crisis. Individuals who achieve legal work status will be able to exit the shelter system, find work opportunities, and get their shot at the American dream." The mayor, who has been pleading for federal help, also released a statement thanking the president, adding, quote, "I'm hopeful that we can continue to partner with President Biden to extend temporary protected status to the tens of thousands of other migrants in our care from other countries." So last month, the mayor did say that the migrant crisis as it was would, quote, destroy New York City. He did add, though, that allowing migrants to work more quickly could help offset some of the costs the city is dealing with. And so it appears this could be a step in the right direction. Reporting from Times Square.
Now, I know a few Venezuelans now, right? They do not say that it is the same way the U.S. portrayed on media. Like there's war, so I know a lot of Venezuelans going back home. It's not like, oh no, we can't go back there, go back ever. Like it's a lot of them I know that go back home. And I used to always like, why are you going back home? I thought it's like, man, it's not bad like y'all make it seem to be.
Well, I mean, can I just be frank? A lot of times it's not as bad as we hear in the media. We got to remember who our media is controlled by. These same corporations who are lobbying for these policies are also the same corporations that are feeding us the messages regarding these other countries and why they're doing the things that they're doing and the motivation. Like it's all tied together, right? So you really have to use independent means of getting information to kind of see the holes or understand a little bit differently, a different perspective of what's actually happening. I mean, I'm at the point where it's hard to even consume media when it comes to international affairs here in the U.S. because I'm not sure. I'm sure that the message is going to be tailored towards a different perspective, and I see that differently, even as being an African American. You know, the way the media portrays and reports on things from a Eurocentric perspective that reflects negatively on the Black community. So my distrust of the media outlets that are reporting these things when it comes to migrants and the relationships and what's happening in those other countries is going to be completely out of mistrust anyway, because I see how you report on what's happening here. So I know you're telling me lies about what's happening over there.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back to Brown Liquor Baron's comment here, and I don't know if he came in like towards the middle or not, but he says the contribution of the expat or digital nomad is a contribution, not a subtraction. Yes and no, in my opinion. Of course, like we bring money in, we're helping the economy, but does the economy give back to the smaller person, to the the lower class or the small man? Meaning, like in Parque Years, I was just saying earlier, Parque Years, they have Gringo Go Home in a lot of these spots in Parque Years throughout the whole downtown Poblado, La Setenta, not Bejo, but the main parts, Poblado. So, like, those people could stay there and rent a 1-bedroom for $200 a month or whatever 5 years ago. Now it's $500 a month. It's damn near almost tripled since a lot of gringos come, because if I had a 1 bedroom in Atlanta, which a 1 bedroom goes now for about $1,500, $1,800 a month, and I go to Parque Jettis, and I'm in Poblado where I got a 360 view, 1 bedroom, almost like a penthouse, and I can pay $1,000 a month. You know, I'm gonna take it, because that 1,800 had me off over there off of Cleveland in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Or on the other side of the new Bankhead Courts. So but does that help the people? Does that help? And some people say, well, you got to blame the landlords, because they're the one raising the rent, because hey, they see Americans. Like I don't have a rhyme or reason for either side of this digital nomad or migrant, but I'm just trying to shine light on it, that there are impacts on how we move in other countries.
Yeah. And whose fault is it? It's, again, I don't necessarily, I blame the system of capitalism that teaches other countries that your economy is not important as my economy. So I get to hoard all this money and wealth. And so my people get to come over there. You're going to be so starved for our money and our wealth that you're going to raise your prices for your own people and price them out of the markets, because we want to accommodate the U.S. dollar that's coming over here, or your dollar, because we're going to put your country in such dire, because a lot of the stuff that happens in other countries, again, I'll use Colombia. Colombia president just talked about this in the UN. U.S. will do things in those countries that help them politically, U.S. politically, and install regimes or support regimes that impact their economy. And so I think it's difficult to be in a situation where you need the U.S. dollar, right? You rely on that U.S. dollar, and so it's very sexy to them, because it's such a huge difference from their own current currency, right?
Right.
I mean, it could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times what they would normally get in rent. If you're normally getting, $300 in rent, if that, right? And you're struggling to get that, and then you have someone who would come in and they've got the capital to spend 3 times that amount. I don't want to say you'd be a fool to not do it, but in a sense, wouldn't you be? Wouldn't you be? You understand the economic power that puts you in your family. It can change the trajectory of the financial situation for your immediate family immediately, right?
Right.
Immediately. This is not something that takes 1 or 2 generations to have the immediate impact. This is immediately and a lot of these countries, like most countries, are set up based upon status in the community, your financial status, right? Your worth is valued around your financial abilities, right? Your flexibility, your lifestyle, your the things you're capable of doing, education, obtaining other properties, increasing your wealth, all depends upon how much you can generate. And if you can generate in a shorter amount of time, again, a lot of expats are coming in, especially digital nomads, they're coming in for a month, they're coming in for 3 months, they're coming in for 6 months, they're coming in for a year, and they're able to pay in 1 year, 1 month, they're able to get 6 months worth of income from one expat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to be in that situation. I can't imagine having to make that decision knowing that you're having to put someone else out. But that's what's happening. The empathy is going, but we see that here in the US. We see it a lot with eminent domain, when neighborhoods that are considered low income are being, deserted and abandoned by landlords, right? So they can get the tax break and not have to keep up the property. Property values fall, and then corporations and or investors and or whoever else is able to come in, buy those properties for pennies on the dollar, and then fix them up and raise property values 3-4 times the value that it originally was, right? And sell for make millions of dollars in profit. So it's all about the profits, all about that income.
Right.
And we're kind of caught in the middle, no matter what level you are. And my analogy is, we're all kind of on this same Titanic, right? Some of us are at the very bottom. Some of us are a little bit higher than the very bottom. Some of us are a couple of floors up. But whether you look at it or not, the Titanic still went down. It's still a sinking ship.
Yeah. Let me bring Mocha comment here. Most of the migrants are taking the jobs which our own people in the U.S. don't want to work. You know what? And I agree with that. But I'm slowly starting to not agree with that because of things like AI.
AI is not going to serve you at a restaurant. AI is not going out. We still have a very large farmland here in the U.S.
No, but AI and technology has cut a lot of those jobs. I mean, I was in New York, and they have them here too, where they had 2 registers, but then they had like 4 of these kiosks where you could order your food or whatever. So that used to be 4 people or 6 people would be working. Now it's only 2 people working there. Technology is really taking a lot of these small, minute jobs and minimizing them down to 1 or 2 people just to really.
Okay, I'm about to be real with you. AI is never going to replace the workers at Amazon. AI is never going to replace the workers who stock shelves at Walmart.
At Amazon, girl, have you seen the Amazon factory where they can process probably 10,000 boxes a day versus 10 years ago when they had like all those people there?
But they still have to have somebody stock those shelves.
They have the machines that come pick the box off the conveyor belt and will put it in the right section. It ain't the warehouses of 10, 15 years ago. They had a place on a shipping yard where nobody was on the shipping yard. And if a person stepped out into the shipping yard, it would shut the whole thing down because it wasn't supposed to be nobody. Like, technology is taking a lot of these small jobs, even the jobs in the fields or whatever. And I'm not saying that. That's why I said slowly I'm starting to not agree with
what migrant is coming over here and getting a technology job? What jobs are they really getting? Let's be honest.
That's what I'm saying. Where are the jobs though that they're going to get?
Those people still, Adrian, those people still want to be served.
But you're talking about 400,000 people here already, over than what we've already had in the last 5 years.
Okay, so where does it say they're getting those jobs at? You can't just assume they're not getting those jobs. Where are they getting those jobs at? You're just asking an open-ended question.
But I'm just saying, you're having people that are already here that are legal citizens, born and raised here,
who don't want to do those jobs.
Yeah, they don't. You can't say all of them don't want to do those jobs, though.
Yes, you can. They're telling you they don't want to do them. If you go to any labor,
you can't assume that. You can't assume that all those people don't want to do those jobs.
Man,
you can't.
If that's the case, how come all these strikes are going on? Because people don't want to, like y'all said. You even said it yourself. These people don't want to work. People don't want to work no more. They don't want to work for the amount they want to pay them. So that's the jobs that they're doing are the migrant jobs.
No, I mean, nurse is not a migrant job. Nurse, you have to have a certification and get that done or whatever.
Yeah, but they're not doing that.
No, they will not be able to get a certificate. You got to go back to school and you have all these other requirements or whatever. But I'm just saying, AI and technology is definitely lowering the amount of jobs in that threshold. But then you have another 400-something thousand people. That's documented. I'm guaranteed there's another 30% that's not even documented.
Okay, so if they're taking jobs, tell me what jobs they're taking.
That's the point. They're gonna a lot of these girls about to be out in the Bronx tricking. They already said the Venezuelans offering. I ain't gonna tell how much they're offering, but they out there selling that cat
Oh Lord.
in the Bronx right now. I'm telling you, I got
Adrian, you're taking there, and there's a whole bunch of white girls who's selling a cat in Vegas.
Hey,
They don't.
Hey, once you get some of that Latin, man, I mean,
It's a whole bunch of them selling it in Atlanta, where you are, and Miami.
Hey, these Venezuelans get on these track, boy. They about to shut the market down. But this ain't the type of show for that. And y'all dudes in the chat, y'all stop laughing, man. But yeah, BLB comes with another that I disagree. We single-handedly helped certain small businesses during the pandemic. We kept the lights on, rent paid for them. Store owners cried tears saying thank you. Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, you save one and hurt many. You know, I think you're hurting the collective, where people cannot come back and rent in those places no more, versus the store owner that kept his store open. You know.
But again, y'all blaming the people in the job market on the people when it's not them. It's these corporations. If you go to Calvin's comment says that Amazon is arguably one of the largest companies prospering from AI. Why would Amazon, who already was known for low labor pay, why would Amazon be a largest company prospering from AI? Why? Profits. If you don't have overhead costs, you increase profits.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if the U.S. is bringing 400,000 people to live over here and to work here if there's no jobs, because they're all being done by AI. They're bringing them over here for political reason, and you know that. Period. It's all political.
Oh, yeah, I'm not arguing that. I mean, I think that's the what you call it, the blanket over your face, over your eyes, whatever. Because the unemployment rate is actually not so bad right now, but I think that's kind of masked as well too. But the type of jobs that majority of them, if you understand Spanish people really start to cringe and sweat bullets when they have to learn English. You have to learn English. I tell people that anytime I'm traveling, like, you want to come over to the States, you got to learn English. It's just as important to me to learn Spanish when I come to these other countries, because you can only get so far. You only going to get certain amount of privileges and stuff when you don't know the language. When you learn the language, you have opportunity to get better jobs. And
so let me tell you.
And I'm finishing. And so what they do is they stay in their. That's why their communities really do, and it's almost like the same thing of what you call when Black people were together. They always say that was the worst thing ever to happen to Black people when we help me out, chat. When we not discrimination, but segregation, desegregation. They said segregation was actually better sometimes for Black people, because we worked and we stayed together, and then we broke that up, and you allowed us to go into white people's neighborhood and stuff. We act like we was better than them and all that shit. So, but they stay in their community. The Spanish community up here, grocery store, it has its own banking in there. It has its own insurance, grocery store. They have everything in their community. We don't have that. So they come over and they build their communities up and thrive in them. Like, they don't really need to learn English, because they can suffice in their own community.
But what I'm saying to you is, y'all worried about the wrong thing, because the jobs that they're doing are construction and agriculture.
You said it is or isn't?
The jobs that they're doing when they come over here are construction, agriculture, hospitality, and healthcare. Those are the jobs that they're doing most of.
But then I'm saying that
we saw that in Florida when Ron DeSantis created that law that said you couldn't be an undocumented immigrant living in Florida, and they all left, and every single construction project in the state of Florida pretty much shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Florida's still struggling right now in the hospitality field, which that's their tourism dollars.
Right. Let me read Calvin's comment here. I can agree with the viewpoint. While the small business owner is happy to receive the U.S. dollar, I'd have to believe there is a disdain from the local citizens who do not prosper from U.S. coming over.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I agree with you.
They're just in love with the dollar. And actually, Calvin can contest to this. You got to do this. I told him we're going to do a review on Cuba. Because Calvin was in the Casa de Habanos. We was in the Hotel Nacional, and I had some U.S. money on me. He had all pesos, and this lady was like, he was going to buy some cigars, and he had enough in pesos to do it, but she was like, "We don't sell pesos." And he was like, "Huh?" She was like, "No, we don't accept pesos." He's like, "What you mean? This your money?" Like, and I was like, "Well, how much?" He's like, "It's like $40 or something." I actually had $40 or how much? I think it was like $20 or $40. And I gave him the US money, and we purchased cigars, but it's the love for US currency abroad, and especially in these third world countries or developing countries, developing countries. There's a thirst for the US dollar. And I always say that it's definitely going to come back and bite them in the behind with that obsession for the US dollar. And they gave me their explaining their reasons as well why that, and I can understand some reasons too, but it's going to hurt you more than help you. So good comment there, Calvin. And okay. Yeah, so BLB said they already make drones that deliver packages. Yep, I think Amazon is doing that right now, testing that out.
Okay, but somebody got to build the Amazon plant, and that's who's building it. Migrants. Hell, all your highway construction, go look at a construction site, especially some of these states, y'all. I'm telling y'all, in the Midwest, when that Florida thing happened, a lot of those people came up to the Midwest. I see it myself. You go on a construction site in a lot of these states, you go to the hotel, the hospitality staff, the cleaning staff, y'all ain't doing them jobs. Y'all not going to clean no hotel rooms. I know I'm not cleaning no hotel rooms.
Right. But it's not to say that, before they weren't
jobs people didn't want to do. I'm telling you right now. Those jobs used to belong to a certain class of people, aka.
Well, let's just say the building thing now, like the building. Now, construction guys were construction guys. They used to make a lot of money, whatever. They were black guys. Mm-hmm. Now they're all Latin or foreigners. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that they didn't want to work those jobs as well? That's a job that was predominantly black.
When they started making them only make $15 an hour,
they cut the rates of the.
They cut the pay. They cut the benefits. They see construction jobs used to be the jobs to get, kind of like post office, because you can't find nobody working at the post office now, because post office pay $12 to $15 an hour, and they call you got to work no matter what. And the shifts that they work, I know somebody who worked for the post office, so they told me, like, I was like, you quit the post office? Like, you have no idea how hard it is to work for the post office. They completely run your life. And a lot of people just weren't willing to do that. Some of those construction jobs, once they start cutting the benefits, and people started not wanting to be taken advantage of, and all the stuff you have to deal with, because they still have to deal with the stuff of being this, right? You still have to deal with the worst job, the worst hours, the worst conditions, safety concerns. Migrants may not be complaining about those kind of things, because they're getting paid. Perhaps they're undocumented or so, but they're getting paid. They're willing to take those low wages because, like you said, they pool their resources together. They'll stay 5, 6, 7 in a house, go work, come bring that money back into a pool, and everybody's putting their resources together. It's just different in their community. They do that where they're from. You know what I mean?
Right.
They have a different sense of community there. So they bring that culture, they bring that sense of community, and that the way they stick together that way to here. So they're able to do that. They're able to rent an apartment or a house and all stay there and pull that resources to and save money that way. They're okay to do those jobs. And like Calvin says in the comments, you know, they want to remove the educated workforce, and they want to be replaced. They want the workforce to be replaced by uneducated workforce. I mean, we're seeing that again. 2 weeks ago, we just had a show where we had, you know, a CEO talk about making the shift. That there is no one wants to provide benefits. No one wants to provide us with what we need, livable wages, while inflation continues to increase. They don't want to do that. They want to keep the wages low. They want to keep conditions low because they're not really care about your quality of life. It's all about how much you can produce, and migrants are able to produce, and that's why they're willing to take these lower paying jobs.
Right. And it says, my son asked for one of those jobs at 15. What happened to the kids that want summer work or part work, I guess part-time work during school at Mickey D's if the migrants have them? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's definitely going to impact. There are people that want to work those fast food, maybe like a hotel job or whatever, part-time to get some hotel benefits. There are some people, they're not a lot. I don't want to say that. I ain't want to paint that broad brush that everybody running out for them damn jobs.
Yeah, I don't want to say that either. But I'm pretty confident that the jobs that they're getting are the jobs that nobody else wants.
Right. In today's time, definitely
in today's time. Yes. Considering the mind of the worker, because again, we are. And go to his question.
Who question? BLB?
Brown Liquor Baron.
Okay. His question all the way down there. I'm trying to. We come back to that.
What I'm trying to.
Point.
We're already over, so I'm just trying to get to everybody's question directly to me. But I think it's important for us to be really realistic about our job market and the reality of those who are in our job market today. We need to be more realistic and listen to what they're actually saying they want to do. Yes, are there jobs out there that people want and are unable to get? Yes, but it's not because of them. It's because of these corporations. Y'all putting the blame. Y'all fighting over peanuts. You're putting the blame on the wrong people. The people that should get the blame are the people who are doing what they're doing to make inflation the way it is, to want to increase profits over having a quality workforce. Those are the people who are responsible for jobs not being what they should be, not paying what they should be, not having livable wages. It's not the responsibility of those who are coming into this country, and it's definitely not the responsibility of us who are already here. We want to work. What we don't want to do is only work, and that's the problem.
Right. Hey, I'm telling you, y'all don't want them Venezuelan chicas on the street. Y'all don't want them on that street, man. Y'all want them on that track. They gonna break up some homes out here, man, in the States, man. They're gonna break up some homes. Ooh. All right. AI will be taking jobs, but honestly, we don't know how many. Yes, we don't know how many. BS3 Network. Follow us on Roku. Yeah, facts in there, man. Yeah. I literally would not. Yeah. They wouldn't. A lot of people wouldn't. They want. The reason why one reason was, and I understood this reason. The pesos fluctuating. A lot of time when this is another thing too. This is another thing that sometimes as Americans we don't take in consideration when Colombia typically you get 3,000 pesos to the US dollar. 3,000 pesos can, I mean, that can buy you like 3 bottles of water or something like that. You can get a lot for $1, right? And during the pandemic, it went up as high as almost like it touched like 5,000 pesos a dollar. Now, when I come with my, and that also inflates the cost of goods because it takes more to for that overhead for that person who bought those eggs. When he bought it with his peso that dropped because the dollar went up, it impacts them. So they don't have that US dollar to spend on them eggs. They have to use their pesos, which is less at that point. So it really hurts them when that dollar spikes and the peso drops. So to get and want that US dollar, that thirst for the US dollar, it brings a lot of things that they don't think about. And that's just capitalism. That's just how it is. But yeah, they did not want the Cuban peso. And they used the US dollar to hedge against inflation. That was one of the main arguments that I could understand and I agreed with. And I didn't really like when it was told to me, I was like, okay. It's protecting them against inflation. So understood. You said, Adrian, I was in the A this weekend. Mocha was in the A at my hotel. Half of the maids were Spanish and didn't speak English. I told you. Yeah.
I mean, I'm traveling right now too, and I just came from an area where all of the cleaning staff for the hotel, all the maintenance for the hotel were Latin.
And and I think I see what she's trying to point out here. She said, and they didn't speak English, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they stick together. So the person who hired them spoke English and was of Latin descent and didn't care if she knew English. She said, "Hey,
as long as you can clean them rooms before that 3 to 4 p.m. check-in,
right.
They don't care.
They don't see that
because I'm not interacting with you anyway. I just know you need to be able to clean these. You got 70 rooms you got to clean and have turned over by between 12 and 3. And
that's one thing that I do love.
And I need to know how many of them you could do.
And that's the one thing I do love about the Latin community. Like, if I got most brothers like, man, you can't do, you gonna make me look bad. You can't speak English, dog. Man, you gonna make me look bad, man. I can't hire you. A Latin person sees another Latin person. They say, hey, you can't. Don't worry, Miko. Don't worry about it. You don't need to talk to them anyway. just nod your head. If they start asking you too many questions, come get me. I'll talk for you. They're gonna make it work. That's why you have to be real. It's almost like be careful about putting water on the gremlin because that motherfucker gonna pop up some baby. You got to be careful with these Latins, man. They stick together and they build. They don't mind staying 30 people in the house and eating huevos and rice and frijoles. They gonna grind through it.
We can have a whole conversation. We can have a whole conversation on why that is. I mean,
they be driving Infinities now because
we can have a whole conversation, and I really don't want to get into that because we can have a whole separate conversation on why that is. It's structurally different in those countries than it is here. Okay, structurally is different.
Yeah, blew your mind. I said, all 213. What's up? Oh, Ali 213. Oh, that's what's good, Ali. I know him.
Structurally is different. We just to deny that structurally is different is and
he said I met Mexican.
I understand why you love that because we don't have that here nowhere in the US. Okay, let's be clear.
Huh?
We don't have that in any community in the US.
Oh yeah.
All the communities that have that are not of US. US
that is correct. Yeah,
origin.
Not just,
okay. It's not just a Latin thing. It's all communities that have that in their origin country.
Yeah, even white people. I met Mexican ladies that live here in SoCal for 30 years and they don't speak language. Yeah, yeah. Good evening, Ali. Calvin says, I'd say it's the value and not the love. Anytime something is considered to be worth more than the next, the natural repossesses is to seek that which is more.
Calvin over there being philosophical.
You know my boy deep. Yes, I think he was speaking about the wanting the dollar over the peso or whatever. Definitely. Ali, I'm in Arizona and most of the clean staff don't speak. That's what you said. Yeah. Oh, you say response. Okay. I figured that. You're 100% accurate, Tiff. All right, you said the migrants would take less, so they remove the uneducated workforce.
Yeah. They're willing to take less. That's all it has to do with. So the less you take, the more I make.
Yeah. So are you justifying the entry of illegal migrants into our country, Tiff?
BLB, I am not in a position to justify anything. The people you need to be posing that question to is the United States government, who is making policies and procedures and providing resources to those who they admit are illegal immigrants and taking them from U.S. those resources from U.S. citizens. That is not a question I or anybody on this panel are able to justify, because my arguments are not in justification because I'm not a decision maker, but the U.S. government is. So that's a very good question that you should inbox or email your president who made this policy and those who are around him who helped lobby for this policy. They are the ones who are justifying the entry by telling us what's happening in those countries and why those immigrants are allowed to come here. I'm just playing the empathetic role and saying they don't deserve the blame. You want to be mad or upset about those resources that are being taken from you? From you. Come on now. And being given to immigrants. That's my answer, sir. You may not like it, but you know I don't give a damn.
I think what you say from him, he like the example he said for his son who wanted to get the Mickey D or McDonald's jobs, would not have.
I have no doubt that his son could get a job at a fast food restaurant. You tell his son to call me and let me know what city he is. I'll personally make sure he get a job at a fast food restaurant. I have a hard time believing that. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it.
Okay. We got Truth, and then we have BLB laughing. I don't know what he laughing at. But
he laughing at you talking about them Venezuelan coming over here and
don't let them Venezuelan chicas get on the
sex industry here in the U.S. That's what you talking
about. Don't let them Venezuelan chicas get in them streets.
That's what he laughing at.
Oh my goodness!
Speaking of getting in them streets, how much longer we got?
Oh, you about to get in them streets?
Yes, I'm traveling, so yes, I need you to wrap it up.
Yeah, we about to wrap it up now. Yes. This was good.
It was.
I told you it was gonna be good anyway. But
we didn't fight as much as we did when we were texting back and forth.
Calvin says, just make sure you're vlogging. I don't know if you want to see what she's gonna be vlogging.
Calvin.
That ain't
no comment. Shut up, Adrian. No comment. Shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, that's it, man. Great conversation nonetheless. We'll see how this play out, man, in the next 6 months, year. It's a lot of people, man, you know, and because I think we were talking too about, you know, expat and digital nomad. So that's what I was saying when I was speaking to you earlier this week, is that like these type of visas that Biden has granted them, it's not permanent. It's like you said, it's the video said 18 months. So what happens in 18 months? You know, do they get opportunity to become a citizen? Just like the digital nomad visas gives you the opportunity to eventually roll that into a citizenship. So you know, people could be there to stay. You never know. We don't know what it all will break out. All of this is new. Digital nomad visas is new. Migrants all have been coming over, but not at this amount, you know. So we will see. All right, great show. Yes, thank you, Mocha. Oh my God, BLB, with your vote, we show support of said policy.
Lord, BLB needs to do some research on how voting works in the United States.
Okay, and thank you for interaction. It was fantastic to see your opinions, and you add value to the conversation. Yes, definitely. Kudos with that. I ditto that. And
oh, thanks, BLB and Calvin. BLB, you know I love you.
Appreciate my brother from another mother, Calvin Jr. Lyles. All right, we are out.
Thanks, Calvin.
Yes. So with that, we'll see y'all in another 2 weeks, possibly. I don't know where we be at, but
I'll be still where I'm. Oh, you know what?
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about that.
All right, and with that, we're gone.
Peace.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.